Like I said, today we'll be going over inventory items and the ins and outs of inventory. Before we actually get started, I want to show you a few things. So I've logged into restaurantsystempspro.net, and up on the top left-hand corner, there's a help icon. When you click on that help icon, or if you're watching an old video, it was called FAQ in the past, but if you click on that FAQ or help icon, give it a few seconds to load, it's going to generate with this. It generates with the article tab and a video tab. Every single article and video we have in the system will generate right over here for you. Since I went ahead and clicked on help on the actual main dashboard, it generated with all of the videos. But if I were to click on the help icon and I was in end of day report, for example, it would automatically generate with only end of day report videos. So the reason why I want to show you guys this is because there is a specific video that I would like everyone to watch that's going to be entering inventory. So what I did is using the search text box, I entered inventory, and there's a video in there called How to Set Up Inventory Shelf to Sheet. I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste this video right now onto the Zoom link as well as on Facebook. Give me one moment. And that way you guys have this video. This video is Gino and I going into an actual member of our restaurant, and we're actually showing you how to set up your shelf sheet from start to finish. Give me 1 second. Let me just go ahead and paste that link. All right, so now if you guys need that video, it's going to be on the link for you. Before you even start with your inventory shelf to sheet, that's the very first thing I'd like you guys to do is watch that video. That way you guys can get started with actually creating the shelf to sheet. Since we're not going to actually watch that video on today's webinar, I want to go ahead and pull up an example for you guys. Give me 1 second. All right, so I've pulled up a photo of the walk-in cooler. This could be anything. This could be your dry storage, your liquor closet, whatever you want to count. So what you're going to do is you're going to grab a notepad and a piece of paper as well as the pen, and you're going to go into your walk-in cooler, for example. And what I suggest you do is you walk into your walk-in cooler and you're going to turn to the left. The very first shelf on the left, and we're going to pretend that this is the very first shelf that you see, this item would be index number 1. Give me 1 second. So this item would automatically be index number 1. That means that in the walk-in cooler, the tomatoes will be the very first item that you count. And you can count your inventory or set up your inventory any way that you'd like. That's the good thing about Restaurant Systems Pro is how flexible we are with your inventory or anything that you need in your specific restaurant. So after the tomatoes, since there's nothing to the right of the tomatoes, I'm going to go down a shelf, and then it looks like this is cucumbers. So the cucumbers would be index number 2. And you'll understand this a little bit better once we actually go into the inventory, and you'll see the index numbers and how they're actually set up in the system. After that's index number 2, to the right of that is lemons. So that would be index number 3. So you would write down each and every single one of these items, and you would grab that notepad and that piece of paper, or that notepad as well as a pen, and you would do tomatoes, number 1, cucumbers, number 2, lemons, number 3, and then go down the list. So number 4 would be this meat right over here. And then you would continue writing down every single item on your shelves until you're done with the walk-in cooler for this example. Before you even do this, what I suggest is you go ahead and organize your shelves and label them. A great example that Gino Sclafani actually gave me, and I believe he got this example from a past member, is using cow tags. So on Amazon, they're super cheap. This is what they look like. But he's made the suggestion that you guys buy cow tags off of Amazon because they are plastic, so you can reuse them, and you can, even after you've Sharpied them, you can still erase it actually using an Expo marker. and then reuse the cow tags, or you can just flip them over. But we do suggest you go ahead and label your shelves. I've actually had past members that have a lot of foreign employees, and so what they'll do actually is they'll take a photo of what's supposed to be in that shelf and then label it that way. But as long as you organize your shelves and label them before you actually do this, it will make your life a lot easier. Any questions on indexing and what they are? All right, awesome. So that was just a tiny example of your actual index numbers. But again, what I suggest you do is you watch that how to set up shelf-to-sheet inventory video. It's only a 4-minute video going from start to finish on how to actually set up your shelf-to-sheet. Once you've set up your shelf-to-sheet, what you can do is you can go ahead and ask your coach. If you do have a coach, if you do not, please reach out to us as soon as possible so we can assign you a coach. Send them that written shelf-to-sheet, or if you did it on your computer, whatever it may be, and then we'll set up the rest for you. So under food systems, I'm going to give you guys all of these examples today under the food systems. Just know it is the same concept for the beverage and the retail systems. The next step that we want to do is we want to go ahead and start entering our shelf-to-sheet inventory. So although I just said that we will set up your shelf-to-sheet inventory for you, you may want to set up, in the future, you may have a location or two that you want to set up on your own, and there's a couple of different things that you need to learn in order to do that. So for the first thing that you need to understand on how to do is adding the inventory storage location. This is only accessible to site admins. So under the restaurant setup, there's going to be something that's going to be called storage setup. I'm going to click on storage setup. And then from here, this is where you add all of your inventory storage locations. You can see for this specific restaurant, we have about 22 storage locations in total. And I will say less is more. If you don't need 22 locations, I would suggest that you don't enter 22 locations because, for example, in a walk-in cooler, if you have 3 different shelves, I would not do a separate location for 3 different shelves. I would just do 1 location with subcategories, for example. To add a new storage location, you're going to scroll down and click on the plus sign. Again, this is only accessible to site admins, and that's typically going to be your owners. If your owner, your site admin is not available at the time, you can always ask your coach, send them an email, give them a call, or you can call support or use this chat with us icon on the bottom left-hand corner that's available for 10 hours a day. Also, if you did not already know, on every single web page, any page that you're on, if you just scroll down to the very bottom, you'll be able to see our training and technical support phone number, operating hours, as well as email. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the plus sign on the bottom grid. And from there, it gives me a couple of things that I need to fill out. The first section is going to be location name. So this is a demo system, but just for the sake of today's example, I'm going to go ahead and do a different walk-in cooler, and I'm going to name that walk-in cooler number 2. The status, make sure if you're adding it so you can use it, that you select the drop-down box and select active. And again, anyone that's on live, if I'm talking too fast, please let me know. So we have subcategories as well as the subcategory number. So this was specifically made for restaurants that have a large amount of wine, and if they put them in bins, that's what that subcategory is for, and the subcategory number. For today's example, I'm going to go ahead and select no for both of them and click save. So it's all you have to do to actually enter the storage location. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start adding these products into our storage location. So there's 3 different ways to add a product into your inventory. The first way I'm going to show you is, again, I'm going to go to food systems and I'm going to go to products. Also, give me 1 second. And we're just going to use this as our example. All right, so the first item that we need in our inventory is going to be tomatoes. So the first thing I'm going to do is under food systems, under products, food, beverage, or retail, but I'm going to go to products. There's going to be a filter in the very middle of the page called product name. Whenever we're filtering, less is more. So if it's tomato, whatever it is, tomatoes, I'm just going to write Tom. The reason why is there's a lot of abbreviations that go on with vendors. Also, you have to keep in mind if I'm filtering for, let's just say, a hot sauce, Cholula sauce. Cholula likes to, for like Cisco, Benny Keith, those vendors, what they'll do is they'll actually add the brand as Cholula, but the product name will just be called hot sauce. So you just have to be aware of how the price is in the system. So I'm going to go ahead and type in tomatoes and then find the tomato that I want to add. Now, what I would suggest, though, is you can see we have a bunch of different tomatoes in the system, and most likely we can group these tomatoes together. If you can group the items, I would definitely get your items grouped, and that way you can add those groups into the recipe costing card, into inventory. But one of the biggest things about inventory in the usage report is making sure your products are grouped. If you've ever been on the phone with me going over the usage report, you'll understand why. Basically, if it's not grouped, your cost of goods sold is going to be a little bit off. It's going to say basically if you had two different tomatoes, one of them would have a negative usage, and then one of them would most likely say that you used the full case of it or however much you purchased for that week. So you need to make sure that you group your products. If it's a specific product, then you're just going to look for it. For this example, I'm going to use the tomato group. Now, just know that even though this one you can see it's under the group column, as long as I add one of the items under that group into the inventory, so I double clicked on the product, now I'm going to scroll down, select it in my walk-in cooler, number 2, this blank text box where it says index number, now that's your index number. Again, I'm going to pull up this piece of paper. So that's the tomatoes is the very first item on my shelf when I walk into the walk-in cooler on the left-hand side. So that'll be index number 1. And then when I click on this drop-down box, you have 3 different options: purchase unit, storage unit, and usage unit. This is how you actually want to count your inventory. So for this specific product, when I select purchase unit, you can see it was set up by the case of 25 pounds. So I can count it by the 25 pounds, or if I select my storage unit, I can count it by the 1 pound, or my usage unit, which is by the 1 ounce. It's whatever is realistically going to be best for your specific restaurant. Now, one thing I do want to mention is, if you look at this photo, do you see how these tomatoes, they are put into a different container than what they've actually received it in? So in that case, I wouldn't necessarily want to count it by the case because this could be 2 broken up, 2 containers, that's 1 case, whatever it may be. What I would suggest you do actually instead is I suggest you basically, whatever this pan is in. So let's just say that the tomatoes were stored in a Cambro. I suggest you get an average weight of how many tomatoes is in that 1 Cambro that you always store it in, and then create a recipe costing card for that. Again, because today we're giving just an example, I'm going to go ahead and count it as a storage unit for now, and that way they can count it by the pound. And then I'm going to go ahead and click Save. So yeah, just a suggestion, and you'll see this in the video. If I put, slices of lemon in a half pan or a 6 pan, I would want to create a recipe costing card for that because it really eliminates the process of you having to figure out how much 1 pound of tomatoes is when you have 2 containers like this, for example. Any questions so far? All right. So once I save that, it takes me back to this main screen. So the next way I want to show you how to add an item into your inventory or add items into your inventory shelf to sheet is under food systems, I can directly do it in inventory. So I'm going to go to inventory items, and anytime I do this in inventory items, I like to do this on a brand new inventory so I don't mess up any previous inventories taken. I'm going to click on the plus sign in the bottom grid to add a new inventory. And then from here, I can click on the date box. I'm going to select any day, so just today. I'm going to click Save. And to add the cucumbers, for example, into the brand new walk-in cooler, I can do it on this page as well. You can click on the plus sign on the bottom grid. And then from here, it gives you this add item inventory box. I have items type, and I have products or recipes. If this is a recipe, then you're going to just click on the checkbox and switch it to recipes. Now I have a blank drop-down box that says select products. Just know anything that generates under the recipe costing cards or under select product, this is every single item that is not in your inventory whatsoever. So just note, if you do not see it come down right over here, that means it's already existing in a different location in your inventory. I'm going to type in cucumber, search for the cucumber that I want to go ahead and add. And then from there, again, subcategory and sub numbers, those were made for restaurants that have a large amount of wine, for example, and they put them in bins. We're going to skip over that right now. And I'm going to scroll down, look for my walk-in cooler number 2. And my index number, you can see it was number 2. So I'll enter that number. And then again, clicking on the drop-down box, it allows me to select how I want to count it. By my purchase unit, by my storage unit, or by my usage unit. This is however you want to count it. For this example today, I'm going to select this as the 1 pound in the walk-in cooler as index number 2 for my cucumbers. Now I'm going to hit save. All right, so those are the 2 different ways to add an item into inventory. Again, under products or under inventory items. Now, if I want to go ahead and add a recipe costing card, like I showed you on the bottom grid of your inventory, using the plus sign, you can select the checklist, you can select the checkbox for recipes, but you can also scroll up here and go to recipe costing cards. And just know, batch recipes are the only recipe costing cards that you can actually inventory. You can search for the item. Let me see if I have a lemon in here. I do not, but I'm going to just go ahead and show you an example anyways. I would select the product 1 time, so it's highlighted blue. And then on the bottom grid, there's a location icon. If you hover your mouse over it, it will tell you location. From there, it gives you the same exact box. You select the location, select the enter the index number, and then select the unit of how you want to count it. There's also one more option for recipe costing cards. You can double click on the recipe costing card. From there, there's a view location icon on the top right-hand corner. And again, it brings up with this same exact box that allows you to select the location, the index, as well as the unit. So I'm going to go ahead and quickly add the last product I need to real quick, my lemons. All right. So we're just going to pretend like our entire walk-in cooler number 2 has been completed and entered into the system. So there's a couple other things that I want to show you, some tips that you may not know about in inventory. So under food, beverage, or retail systems, I'm going to go to inventory items. And from here, there's a couple different things. On the top, it automatically generates to the current month and the current date that you're on. On the bottom of that, under begin inventory date, there's an active and deleted folder. The great thing about Restaurant Systems Pro is if you've accidentally deleted an inventory, we can always restore it. Now, just know that's completely different than if you lost connection when you were in the walk-in cooler, lost internet connection. We aren't able to save that information if it was an internet error. All right. There's a compare icon, and so a lot of the times, and we will go over this, I believe we go over usage report, I want to say tomorrow or the next day, sometime this week we'll have a webinar on usage report, but you'll see this come into play. This compare icon, if let's just say that my walk-in cooler on the 8th, 3/8, was $500, and then on 3/5 it was $12,000, I would use this compare icon and compare the 2 inventories side by side to figure out why I had a difference. And if you just click on the compare icon, it allows you to select your locations. or deselect and select a specific location, you would select the beginning and ending inventory day, so the 8th through the 15th for this example. And when I hit compare, it generates with a PDF, and all I do now is I go down this list under the extension column and I compare the two. So I know this is a demo system, so things look a little bit different for us, but just know that, for example, if you see something went from $500 to $5, then I'm going to double check as to why. So that's what that compare icon is up on the top right-hand corner. And then again, to add a new inventory, you click on the plus sign on the bottom grid. And then from there, it gives you the option of selecting your date range. So our demo system is Monday through Sunday. Just know whatever ending day or week, your inventory has to be entered for that day. So that being said, if I did my inventory, you can either do it Sunday night or Monday morning before you receive any orders or deliveries or create any orders. You can go ahead and you still have to have your inventory entered on Sunday, even if you're counting it Monday morning, for example. So I'm going to go ahead and select the 22nd. And then from here, it gives us a checkbox of two different types. So one of them is going to be cost of goods sold, and one of them is going to be orders. Do not ever deselect that. I know it gives you that option, but please don't deselect that because there's no way for us to go back and select it. Where it says cost of goods sold, it's asking you guys if you want this to be applied to your cost of goods sold. And then order, it's asking if you want this to be applied to your order section. And you can actually generate your inventory on hand count in your order. And if you have par levels already set up in the system, it automatically generates with your actual or how much you have to order for that specific day. So always make sure those are checked and then click save. From here, once your inventory is set up, this is what it looks like. I'm going to go ahead and open up my screen fully. And there's a couple different things that I want to show you. Up on the top where it says choose category. So for example, if my cost of goods sold category for food is over budget by $2,000, I like to just go ahead and click on this drop-down box and select food so I can just focus on food. And the good thing about that is once I've selected my category as food, and same thing in the usage report, but I'm easily able to identify that if something is coded wrong into the system. The other day, actually, a couple months ago, I actually found a system that had about $30,000 worth of supplies coded to their food system. So this is a great tip for you guys to be able to identify if something's coded wrong in the system. Or if you just want to focus on one specific cost of goods sold category. Anyone who touches this inventory, their name will generate right over here. And this is another reason why we should never share username and passwords. And then lastly, we have a private recipe search bar. So again, less is more when you're searching. If I'm searching for peanut butter, I would just type in PEA. And again, that's due to abbreviations that a lot of the vendors like to use in the product. This edit inventory date option, this is only going to be for site admins. But if I accidentally selected it for, let's just say Monday, it would completely throw off my cost of goods sold category, my cost of goods sold. So you just want to make sure that it's on Sunday if that's your ending day of the week. Connection mode. So this is a great tool if you understand how to use it. I would suggest that you practice using this a couple times before you actually fully go into your walk-in cooler, for example, and start doing inventory. Basically, what this is a connection mode. So if I'm in my walk-in cooler, I don't want to lose internet connection, and most of our walk-in coolers doesn't have internet connection. And so in order to make sure that we don't lose anything, what you're going to do is you're going to go into an area with internet connection and make sure it's strong connection, and you're going to mark it as off. Now, if you watch your screen, it's going to have a load icon. You can see it took a couple seconds for that load icon. You have to make sure that load icon generates for you before you proceed. So now I'm going to walk into my walk-in cooler and start entering my actual inventory. Once I'm done with my inventory, what you want to do is you want to get out of the walk-in cooler for this example. You want to go in an area with strong internet connection. And then once you're in that area with strong internet connection, you're going to turn the connection mode as on. Now it's going to ask you, do you want to save? If it did not ask you that, that means unfortunately it is not going to save. I'm going to go ahead and click yes, or the floppy disk icon. And there's two things that you should have noticed. There was a red icon that looked like this on the green onions. It automatically went away when that saved. That means that that item did save. Also, another example that you can use to know that your actual location did save was on the very bottom. It will not generate with totals unless it saves the inventory. So that's what the connection mode is. And the next section is going to be using number 10 keypad. So if I'm inventorying on, let's just say my tablet, or if I'm inventorying on a computer, for example, and I want a number 10 keyboard to go ahead and generate, I can go ahead and click on. And then from there, when I start entering my numbers, it automatically generates with this keyboard. And then that way, if you're using a touch screen, you can just go down the list, enter your number, and then hit the down or up arrow, and then continue doing that for each item. All right. Give me 1 second. Let me just make sure no one has any questions. All right. And what I also suggest is every single inventory storage location that you save each section rather than doing a bunch of different locations at once and then saving. The reason why is I would much rather have you guys, you know, if this did happen, lose one location rather than every single location because you didn't save by location. So a couple other things that I want to show you. Excuse me. So these arrow icons, when you click on the arrow icon, that's what actually opens up that location. You can see the walk-in cooler number 2. This is the inventory location that we just entered. You can see the index number, the product name, the description, if there is any, the inventory unit. So this is how you're counting it right now, the unit size and the price, as well as the count. So the count column is where you enter your actual count in. So let's just say of the tomatoes that I figured out that I had about 10 pounds, and then you enter that into the count column. If for whatever reason that you found a couple cases more or a couple pounds more under the add column, you can just go ahead and add it right there. So I found 6.9 pounds more. The system will automatically do the math for you. Especially if there's a bunch of decimals, you know, it's just easier sometimes to just use the add function rather than add the math up yourself. So that's what that column's for. And one of the biggest things about inventory is making sure that once you do enter your inventory that you pay attention to this extension column, because for a lot of the time, what I'll see is lemons, for example. We have to pay attention to our extension column, but also our unit size column. So if I had 1 case of lemons, what I often find is people will enter, you know, 1 case is 36 each, so they'll enter 36. But what they're saying is they have 36 cases of 36 each, and that's $651. If you're entering this and you see that large sum, then you automatically know to double check the unit size, or maybe possibly the price may be off. Possibly the price could be maybe a case price rather than for a pound price or for 1 each price. So that's another thing that we need to pay attention to when you're inventorying. And then for that example, we would just do 1 if we had 1 case. And you also always want to make sure that your unit size correlates with your price. Now, it should automatically stand out to you, even if you're not a back-of-the-house person and you're counting the food systems inventory. It should still stand out to you if there is a variance. All right, no questions. Double check. All right. So a couple other tips that I want to show you guys today. So right under, on the very left-hand side next to the index column, you're going to be able to see, it looks like a little box icon. When you hover your mouse over it, you can see it changes my actual mouse. So what you can do on this is actually drag and drop. So for example, I'm going to open up the larger walk-in cooler, and let's just say that I want this green onion to be underneath the bun slider. I can actually select the green onion and drag and drop it to wherever location I want it to, and you'll see the green onions was originally index number 1. The system automatically re-indexed every single item for me as soon as I dropped it after I dragged. All right. Also, if you added something into inventory with 0 index number, let me look for something real quick. Give me 1 second. So you can see in my reach-in freezer, it went from 5, 7, 9, 10, and then it has 2 items that have 0 index. I can absolutely manually enter an index in here, but most of the time, especially when we're entering an order, we're just trying to add it into inventory, and we can add it into the actual index number later. But for now, you know, when we're trying to hurry up and do our orders sometimes, we just want to add it without an index number. That's completely fine, because all you have to do now to re-index it is either drag it like I just showed you. You can go ahead and click on this text box and change it from here. So let's just say that this could be number 5. And if you do it this way under the index column, you just have to make sure you scroll up and click on Resort Location Index. And you'll see, once I did that, that my chicken fritters is number 5, and everything else went ahead and re-indexed itself. Now, the last way I want to show you to adjust your, actually 2 more ways I can show you how to adjust your inventory is, you can actually double click on the item as well. So green or onion yellow, for example, I'm going to double click on it. Make sure if you double click and do what I'm about to show you, anything prior, if you've entered count, you want to make sure you save that. And then you want to go ahead and double click on the product. Any work you did previously, if you did not save it, it will lose once you double click on a price and go to this page and save. So this page generates with a specific item that you went ahead and double clicked on. And then from here, it shows you every single location it's in. The cool thing about it is you can deselect it and take it out of inventory completely. You can change the index number from here. You can change the way that you want to permanently count it. So for example, this line cooler front, it's right now being counted by our 1 ounce, our usage unit, but I want to count it by our storage unit by the pound. So I can change it from here, and when I click save, it will automatically save it permanently for me for any upcoming inventory. Just remember, this is a database, so this does not adjust any previous inventory. If my price was wrong, it does not adjust any previous pricing. All right. And then last thing that I want to show you guys is there's an inventory unit. So let's just say for this specific inventory that you have someone helping you out, for example, and they aren't sure because they are, someone that's just helping you out, they aren't sure how much one case is. So what they can do is instead of trying to figure out on the actual label itself or on the box itself what the case is, they can just click on this drop-down box and select the purchase unit, for example, and it will tell you down here what the actual case is. And if they had 1 case of it, they'll just enter 1 pound. And again, these little red arrow icons mean that you need to save it. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Does anyone have any questions so far? All right, awesome. Now, the last example I want to give you, and this happens quite often, is anything that's a catchweight item. What I find is people will accidentally not enter the order correctly with the catchweight. And so it will have, let's just say for this Sunny River, it will have 1 pound for $500, which is the case price. Give me 1 second. Let me go ahead and make the scenario real quick so you guys have a better understanding of it. All right, so let's just say, for example, this specific item, it says it's 1 pound for $500. And so when I put my count of 5 pounds in there total, it told me that it's $2,500. Now, what you're going to have to do is, I'm going to go to food systems. Give me 1 second. So I'm going to go to food systems, and then from there, I'm going to go ahead and search for the product, which is right over here. If you don't know the price, you're going to click on it one time so it's highlighted blue, and click on history. And then from there, it should tell you the previous price. So it's $3.85. The first thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and get that price updated in the actual product itself. So I'm going to double click on the product, change the price back to what it should be. So for 1 pound, it's $3.85. And then I'm going to save that. Because we are a database, even though we had adjusted our actual product itself, if I go into that specific inventory, and open up that location, you can see it still says that it's $2,500 for 1 pound of it. What we need to do in order for this to update is we need to go ahead and back it out and re-enter into the system. The easiest way to do this is, again, before you start doing this, save any previous work that you did on this page. We are going to double click on the product. And if it's in multiple locations, you're going to do this for every single location that's in. For this example, it's only in one location. So in the beer region, what I'm going to do is under this count column, I'm going to zero it out completely. There could not be any zeros, nothing in that box whatsoever. Now, when I save this, if there's nothing in that box, it should automatically update that price for you. Now I can re-enter my 5 pounds, and now it's $19.25 for 5 pounds of that. Save that, and that's how you update your inventory if it had the wrong price in there originally. So those are a couple ins and outs that I wanted to teach you guys about inventory shelf to sheet. Does anyone have any questions or concerns? All right, everyone, feel free to contact me. Again, my extension is 102. You can email me at britney@therestaurantsystempspro.net. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks, everyone. Bye.